welcome back to Women in Politics with your host, Jacqueline Gomez-Neves. On today's show, we will be talking being a public figure and redefining success. In order to have that conversation, we have with us a very special guest today. His name is Solomon Smith. Solomon is the founder of the award-winning Brixton Soup Kitchen. He has been featured in ITV's Surprise Surprise, and he is also one of London's most influential people named by the Evening Standard. Hi, Solomon.
How are you doing?
How are you?
I'm fine.
Thank you for being here today.
More than welcome.
So let's get into it. You're a very successful person in the public eye, right? So you have, I'm sure you can't walk into a room without getting some pictures. You had some of that here today.
Yeah.
So you have all these, camera, being on TV, being on BBC News, right through to being named as one of London's most influential people, which is a very big deal. But what does success mean to you?
Success means putting in graft, putting in a lot of hours what people don't see. So I'm talking 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, researching, finding things that you might not be able to know yourself. Success is people praising you, not just for the work that you've been doing, but for you to actually stand out and do it. So for me, it's not about the glitz and the glamour, about being awarded to award shows, taking pictures. It's just about people seeing the work that I'm doing and, see the passion that I have behind it.
Now, so you spoke about passion and the hard work and the graft really being what success means for you. What are some of the things that people don't see? So I'm sure, thousands and probably millions of people across the globe have seen Solomon's work. So what does the hard work mean? Because I'm sure people see you on TV, they see you on the Snapchat, on the social media, on the Instagram, and they see all of this good stuff, right?
Yeah.
But what is it that people are not seeing? What are they seeing behind the scenes at the soup kitchen? What are they not seeing behind the scenes when you're maybe nervous and attending some of these shows? What are people not seeing? What is the hard work? What does that look like?
People are not seeing the no letters. When
you get no's? Are you sure?
We get a lot of
You get no's?
We get a lot of no's.
Tell me about that, please.
So I remember when, I never knew how to run a charity before. I just knew seeing someone who was in need and, support them. So when I was reaching out to government, reaching out to other homeless organizations who've done it before me, they were saying to me, no.
Wow.
And for me, that could have been easily led to give up.
Did you feel like giving up sometimes?
100%. 100%. Because I was thinking, if they're not going to support me, who will?
And you're talking about your journey to setting up the Brixton Soup Kitchen.
Yeah. So literally, I remember we needed donations from, a lot of shops. So it could be Tesco's, Iceland, Morrison's, when it was around. I was just sending letters. So for me, I find it very hard to read and write. So those were one of my struggles. So I'm trying to formulate a letter, going on Google, copy and pasting, hoping it looks right. In my mind, it looks right. And literally sending it out, and a lot of people saying, fantastic idea. Unfortunately, I didn't really need to read anymore. I know it's a no.
And it hurts your heart when you get that, right? And when you're trying to start something, and I've had the experience of trying to start an organization or a project, and you reach out to people who you think should have your best interests at heart, because you said you were reaching out to people who are also running charities. And so you have this assumption that people are going to support you, and they don't.
Literally.
And it hurts.
Literally.
And I guess that's part of the kind of success journey and this redefining success and being truthful about what success means, because it isn't just the being on Surprise Surprise, and it isn't just recently Idris Elba came to the Brixton Soup Kitchen. So it's not just about those moments, but it's about the moments where people said no to, right?
100%. Those are most important.
The most defining.
100%. Then having the celebrities come down and etc. The celebrities coming down, is another way of showing the amount of work that you've put in. You know, people will see on social media, oh my God, the Sun newspaper gave you a brand new car. But they didn't understand when I was up 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, getting stressed out, you know, flipping over tables. Because you got to understand, I find it easy to try to study by myself, but I'm still struggling because I don't know how to read and write. So I'm literally on Google and literally trying to finding ways, going on YouTube, saying, how do you set up a charity? How do you write sponsor letters? You know, that is literally the way how I'm learning. I'm literally looking at other charities and seeing who's sponsoring them to see if you're sponsoring them, you could obviously sponsor us, you know, and, you know, those are a lot of the works, what's happening. I'm seeing daylight. I'm used to seeing daylight come, you know, and then once daylight comes, I still need to get up early in the morning to run the actual charity, you know, and from doing that, you know, ongoing to start getting people saying, coming for a meeting, that's another hurdle because I've never been able to speak to professionals before.
Yeah. So on that note, what are some of your fears?
My fear at first was failing. Now I enjoy failing.
What does that mean? What does it mean to enjoy to fail? Some people look at failure and say, I don't want to fail. And I've been through that, you know, I've been down that path where I want to do something, but I want to make sure I do it right. I don't want to fail. Fail doesn't look attractive to me. What does that mean for you? So
for me, I remember Bentley. I reached out to Bentley. For me, I reach out to companies, and I always say to people, reach out to companies you enjoy. I reached out to Bentley.
And you enjoyed Bentley? You had experience of being in a Bentley car? Because I don't share that experience level. Not yet. Solomon. Not yet. But it was an aspirational thing.
I just reached out to them. You sent them a letter, you know, and then they said, come in for a meeting.
Wow.
I was thinking, oh my God, how am I going to do this? I said, I'm going anyway. Went down to their headquarters, and then I had a pitch and I failed miserably.
Wow.
But it was for me that I actually got there. And I reached out to them again and I said, where did I go wrong?
Yes, because I was about to ask you, how did you know you went wrong?
Reached out and said, what happened? What did I do?
So they haven't gotten back to you, and at this point you're thinking, why?
No, they didn't get back to me yet. Then I reached back out and I was like, you know, what happened? You know, we've had a meeting, everything went swimmingly in my mind. And literally they said, you know, your pitch was crap. And then for me, it was to then learn to say, do you know what? I need to go on YouTube and learn how to do pictures. And then I just dedicated 3 months on just learning how to do pictures. So then I reached back out to Bentley again. Then I done another pitch. And then I was successful.
And it went well.
And
it was just that learning from the failure of
literally
not understanding what you did wrong, but then reaching out and trying to understand 100%. So that you could correct that and then do it again.
100%.
And that's part of the success journey in terms of it isn't just always perfect, is it?
Never.
And it doesn't sound like it's just been a smooth sailing journey.
Never.
But that's what people think sometimes. And so there have been failures. And learning from those failures are the most important thing, it sounds, from what you're saying.
100%.
Yeah. So some people who are watching this don't know Solomon and I, and you may think we're complete strangers and we're just doing a fantastic job at this interview. There's lots of synergy. Some of you may actually know that we know each other. And I've been volunteering at the Soup Kitchen since its founding in 2013. And one of the things that have always stood out to me about the Soup Kitchen is it's value-based. It's a value-based organization, and when you're there, it's very similar to the SJW community in terms of that it feels like a family, and it's not just homeless people or people in need that are in that community. It's lonely people who want someone to speak to, people who want to gain some skills and who want to give back to the community. And the thing at the core of everyone who is there is this value to have but to give, this value to receive and to give, and this value of family and of caring for your neighbor. And so what do values mean for you? And building a soup kitchen that very much feels like a family comes from something. So what pushed you, and what you know, where did you get your values from in terms of whether that was your family or growing up? Where did you get your values from, and the values that now drive a very purpose-driven organization?
For me, I didn't understand how lucky I was. Meaning, I grew up in an estate in Brixton where I was the only family that had a mum and dad in my family home.
On the whole estate?
On the whole estate.
Well, I didn't know that.
I used to have a lot of friends come to my house but don't want to leave. I'm saying, brother, you got a home to go to. And they said to me, I've never known what it's like to have a man in the house. And I took that for granted because I was used to that.
And because you had your mum and dad at home?
I had my mum and dad at home, you know? And that's when it hit me. That's when I was like, raw. You know, I took that for granted, you know? And especially like my parents come from social backgrounds. So my dad is a mental health worker and my mum is a social worker. So I've always seen, you know, my mum coming home and saying, boy, you know, I don't want to take back that, I don't want to take that woman's children away, but son, she ain't listening. So my mum used to do work outside of her work, trying to call the woman and say, you need to do this, you need to do that, because if you don't do that, then I'm forced to take your children away. And I saw the passion from my mum, and I saw the passion from my dad working with people who were well, and then all of a sudden they're going through mental stages. So for me,
that must have had an impact on your family and your mum and dad coming home and sharing that.
Most stuff. And it was like, you know, I've got a twin brother. I've got a little brother, I've got a little sister as well. So I'm the oldest. So, you know, cooking is one of my things. And I remember, especially on a Sunday, my parents will cook rice and peas and chicken. But my mum's cooking in a big pot. And I'm thinking, hello, there's only 3-4 people in the house. Why are you cooking so much food? So what I used to do when I was probably about in year 7, I used to contain food. Do you remember when you used to think there's ice cream in the bottom of the freezer?
Oh yeah, or you think the celebrations is full of sweets and then you open it and
it's rice. So what I used to do is I used to contain probably like 7 contained food. I literally, when I was on my way to school, I used to give it to the homeless.
Okay.
So I started from like year 7. I've done that till about in year 9. And then for me, I left school with no GCSEs because I couldn't fathom reading or writing. And my school didn't pick it up at all.
Wow.
So they just saw me and my twin brother as the most disruptive kids.
So how do you use that experience, you know, your family experience, what your parents were going through, what you know, you were going through, and then taking those values, and then you were doing it early. So you started giving to the local people who you saw, you know, who were homeless. So how did you take that and put it into this organization that has done incredibly well nationally? And for what, you know, for whatever reasons people see it stand out for, the main reason and the solid reason and the undeniable reason is the fact that it's a purpose-driven organization, an organization that has its heart and its service users at the heart and the core of what it does. So how did you take your experience growing up and say, right, this is how I feed it into my organization?
I think for me, it was more to deal with, you know, I've worked for local government and I hated working in a youth club and a young person couldn't get the service because they wasn't from Lambeth. So I said, if I'm going to run my own charity or my own organization, it has to be an open door policy.
Okay.
Don't care what race, religion, postcode, borough, anyone who needs the support can come down and get the support. And what makes us different to a lot of different organizations is, you know, we don't want letters, referrals. We've just knocked all of that on this head. We said we don't want nothing like that. If you come in today, you get a service today. And that's when we was realizing we was getting a lot of people coming from Hull, Birmingham, Manchester, Brighton. Everyone just saying, you know, because a lot of the time when people think of Soup Kitchen, they're thinking it's a church-based thing. So I wanted it to be where we're not taking away from anyone's religion, but I didn't want someone to feel that they have to pray to get a service.
Yeah, and providing a service to a person regardless of their class, background, race, you know, experience growing up, that is so powerful. And you know, you're right in saying that organizations that did that were religious based or were part of a chaplaincy or some sort of religious thing, and doing something that is saying, right, we don't care where you're from, we don't care what you believe in. The main thing is,
if you need support, remember, when I first started, it was like homeless people holding a card. Oh, I'm hungry. Then we say, come here. But now I've realized our friends and our family are struggling.
And our neighbors.
And our neighbors. People suffer in silence. And one of the things I want to do is to break that silence. To say, you know, if you're struggling, don't feel too embarrassed to call my phone. We've got a secret service as well. So even though we run the service from 10 in the morning till 2, from 2 o'clock till 6, we do a secret service. Because a lot of people are too embarrassed to come into the soup kitchen during the hours, you know. So even if it's us going back in there, we get a lot of support from maybe Nando's, put a munch, and we just give them a lot of meat, vegetables, you know. There's a lot of things that we get given at the soup kitchen. And I'm very, now, looking back when we first started in 2013, when I was begging people to give us stuff, now, literally, our emails just flood. You know, we had a meeting 2 days ago with Heinz. We're going to be getting pallets and pallets of Heinz. This is the first time when Heinz actually said, I said, oh, I want 200 tins. They said, that's not enough.
Is that it?
We want to give you more. And that was mind-blowing for me, because I've never requested something before. Remember, I'm going to be licky, innit? I want to take everything because I want to make sure everybody gets. And when they were saying, that's not enough, we need to give you more, was amazing for me.
And it's abundance, right? And when you believe you live in a world of abundance and you believe in that energy, it eventually comes to you.
100%.
And so making sure that you're walking the right path, I think, is a message that has stood out from your journey, and also something that should be taken on by other organizations, knowing that doing the right thing will eventually get you that, you know, that energy of abundance, because people will want to help you. And so to wrap things up, it's been an amazing conversation, and I think so many people gain from this. On the topic of being a public figure and redefining the meaning of success, what would you say to organizations out there who are running a business and they're saying, look, we're purpose-driven. We have our service users at our core. What would you say to them? What would you say to those CEOs? How would you tell them to use their values, the values that they learned growing up, the values that they've learned from the amazing people in their lives? How would you, what would be the advice you'd say to them to use those values to then bring it into the organization and to make the organization the best it can be for the people and for the people they serve? What would you say to those CEOs of purpose-driven organizations?
I will definitely say, use the passion on why you went into the interview.
So the why.
Because when people go into the interview, they're very enthusiastic. You know, they're going to change the world. And then sometimes when they get their job, they become laid back, and then they become like everybody else on why the world ain't moving around. Always stick to the purpose on why you wanted to get into that field, and use all your experiences, all your life experiences, all your hardship. Everyone's gone through hardship. Use your hardship to help somebody else.
And don't be afraid of bringing the personal to the professional, the lessons you've learned from the personal.
Oh, definitely. Because before we was professional, we was personal. You know, sometimes you need to bring a bit of personal into your professionalism.
There you go. Sometimes you need to bring a bit of personal into your professional, and that's how you lead a purpose-driven organization. I've been Jacqueline, and I've had an amazing guest in Solomon Smith. Thank you for watching Women in Politics.